In 1992, an Iranian student, Habib, committed suicide outside a small Ontario town. Later, I visited the site where he hanged himself under this tree. He was so determined to kill himself. When the rope broke on his first attempt, he was given a second chance at life. He never took it. Like me, Habib was an ex-political prisoner from Iran. Trying to understand his act of desperation drove me to make this film. Why, after so many years of struggle and escape to Canada, did he kill himself? Wondering what images and memories Habib had carried in his head, I turned to my animation. Were they like the ones in my picture diary, images of political madness, escape, and isolation? Images can provide a common language that brings people together from all over the world. If it were not for the conspiracy of silence shared by so many of us, demonstrations, acts of rebellion, art, and even suicide are the different ways we tell our story. I never learned Habib's story, but there are many like him. How does one survive imprisonment, escape, and exile? I needed to know how others would tell their stories.
Start from here. Let's put the first one up here. I was nobody because I didn't have any history here. I had a name, and based on the name, I had to start to build a present identity to work towards the future. But my past, it was something totally irrelevant to this society. I came to Canada. That was the best thing that I could pursue my questions, and following my questions, go and get some educating myself. Study sociology, economics, philosophy, history. You need to know about what's happening in the world.
It was so cold. I actually called my mom from the bank, and I said, if you're not doing anything, can you pick me up and then drop me off?
When I was arrested in Iran, I was 18 years old. That was in 1982. My son was 1 year old. It was 4 days after his birthday. The government started to arrest all of the opposition. I was one of them. And they told my parents that we're just going to take her for a few questions. She's going to be out by tomorrow. I came out 8 years later.
Yeah. Hello. Oh. I don't know when my son
Got it.
it's black can hug his father, and my daughter and me can hug each other. We are a family, but we are separate. I don't know why.
Which color do you want to?
This.
Just red?
The immigration tell me you have to wait and wait. And we are waiting for 4 years
I can't make
to live with each other.
I was 19 years old. I was in the jail for 5 years with thousands of people that they lost their life because of their beliefs. I had a long way to come to Canada. The first impression was the cold. I felt I flew to the North Pole, actually.
C'est bon, c'est chaud. Venez au bon marché.
Wherever I go, basically I update different people and different communities on what is happening to Iranian people in prisons, to women and children, and in terms of the civil liberties of the population of Iran, which is being continuously and systematically abused by Islamic regime of Iran. I had been active in left organizations in Iran long time ago, during the Shah. At that time, I was captured at a high school and sent to prison for a year because I supported the nationalization of oil against British Petroleum. In fact, I was part of the student opposition at that time. In 1953, the elected government of Dr. Masoud was overthrown by CIA conspiracy, and the British intelligence both actually got together and used military force to overthrow his government and re-establish the dictatorial form of regime by the Shah.
He was in the power for 27 years. We were in the revolution against Shah. We wanted to change. We wanted to have a democracy in our country, in speech, in every aspect, you know.
The revolution in Iran happened during the 1979, and it overthrew the Shah government in the winter of 1979.
It was a small period of time of liberty, the freedom. We had lots of demonstration, I do remember. They were asking questions because they wanted to change.
Hier, on a fait une manifestation. On avait à peu près 10 ou 15 000 femmes, mais ils n'ont rien dit à la télé. On a fait des manifestations pour dire que le gouvernement libre n'a pas le droit de dire il faut ou il ne faut pas. C'est nous qui choisirons. Et c'est nous les femmes qui choisirons.
I was arrested for numerous times. I was beaten yet let free. The rule of the Islamist force was not yet total.
The direction of the revolution changed, and these ideas of freedom and democracy were betrayed. And unfortunately, we ended up with another dictator, Ayatollah Khomeini.
The government used mainly intimidation tactics to intimidate the opposition groups into a state of calm or a state of obedience.
ما نمیتونیم با اون حجاب و با اون چیزهایی که اونا میگن بتونیم اونقدر که دلمون میخواد و میتونیم به مریضای خودمون کمک بکنیم.
During this time, civil and human liberty was attacked. Civil and human rights were under constant pressure. There was an escalating trend towards more and more violence, to the point that in 1981 there was a drastic change.
I was captured by Hezbollah around the end of 1981, and I spent almost 8 years in many different prisons of Islamic regime in Tehran.
It was evident for us that this is calling for our blood. This is calling for our life. This is calling for our self-sacrifice.
But in my country, you can't have different idea and talk about that, you know? You have to just quiet. And that's why that I was in jail 3 years. They arrested us, me and my husband. They put me in the trunk. We were in Tehran. They moved us to Ahvaz around 20 hours time.
They sent me to the main jail in Tehran called Evin. It was crowded, awfully crowded. When I got there, I was shocked. It was a room 5 by 9 meter or something like this. 92 people living in one room. And at the same time, there were 2 pregnant women there. Some people were talking, laughing. Another person, and just beside them was crying. Another person was praying. The kids were there, babies. We have to sleep like a book. It was like a book. You couldn't sleep like that because there isn't any space there. So it was the first night for me. And the person beside me and the other one, they told me, don't move that much, just sit and then roll over. We pushed each other more to give the pregnant woman more space, that at least they can sleep well. The first few weeks you are under investigation actually. And you're going there, too much pressure, too much things happen there, asking questions, beating you. At that moment, you are not thinking about the freedom. You are thinking about how you get out from this question. How should you manage this question? How should you escape from this question? And not to giving any information. But you are looking for the best way to be alive and to hold yourself and not to cooperate with them.
In Black Fortress, where I was in prison, the space was just about 1 meter and about half to about 2 meters. I was with over 35 other prisoners living in the cell. We had diarrhea, skin disease. Only each 8 hours they would let us out for 20 minutes. And as a result, we had plastic bags from our bread and relieve ourselves in the cell.
For the first time I saw my girl. They keep her very far from me. She was just 1 year. If I don't give him information that they need, they can pressure me with my daughter. And I show them, I don't care. Bye, I want to go. Because I was afraid if you show them that I'm very, very depend to my daughter, maybe they hurt her.
You had a trial or not? A court, going to the court?
Court? Maybe 10 minutes. They talk together. She's killer. She's no Muslim. She don't know God. She's bad, 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 bad. So I want you to let us kill her. That's it. You can hear a lot of times about human rights, about peace, and also about business, technology. And the other side, in the earth, not very far, half a day, you can go there and see a lot of mother or father that they lost their children just because they want to make a society with peace, nothing else. It's not fair.
They took me to a judge for almost 3 minutes. We're gonna sentence you to life sentence, and give you a sentence of being lashed 3 times a day at every time of the prayer till you be converted to Islam.
The solitary confinement that was used prior to 1981, they were developed and evolved into something that they call it boxing or graving, wherein the person was placed inside a box.
The rules was that you couldn't talk, you couldn't lean on any of these walls, you had to sit still without any support for 15 hours, and you couldn't cough, you couldn't sneeze, you couldn't break your knuckles, because all of this was like a sign of being alive. It's just like being chained, but with invisible chains.
And all the time we were listening. It was a TV. We couldn't see. We have to listen to speech all the time. And we wanted to brainwash with this kind of pressure, you know.
Like when I was sitting in the coffin for the first couple of months, I tried to deny what was happening to me. I tried to not listen to the propaganda, just block it. Not listen, deny it, I'm sitting here, nothing gonna happen to me. But reality was harsher. After a couple of months, I saw that I can't go like that. There's 2 ways. Either I fall down and die in one way or another, or I resist it consciously. And I felt that if I want to resist it, I have to fight it actively. I have to hear them and challenge them. And I have to restate my state of being. All of those rules was to make you to be alone. I tried to imagine, to picture my son's face or my mom's face, and I'm sorry. I couldn't see more than 2 pictures. I didn't have any other images. I felt that I'm losing. I got scared. I tried to remember my cousins' names, to remember names I couldn't remember. So I felt I really had to train my mind again. And worked hard to remember. And I was listening to everything, every little things coming from outside world. I was catching it. Finding life and seeing that it's not finished, and trying to challenge what they were trying to do with us, to say that there is no life. It's trying to find it. I made friends with mosquitoes, with flies. I could watch. I wouldn't push away the mosquito sitting in my hand, on my hand and sucking my blood. No, I would watch it carefully, trying to see what it's doing, and seeing that its belly was getting swallowed with my blood and getting red, and remembered that there's only the female mosquitoes bite, and that's for their procreation, for making eggs. So that was life. And hearing dogs barking from outside, it was so beautiful. Even hearing that the guards were outside playing something and laughing. These are people, even if they're guards, and that's life.
I felt that moment I was very fragile. I can't tell you, I was thinking about myself, and I thought I was like a vase that they put too much pressure on me, on this vase.
When we cannot alter our physical environment, the only thing that we can alter is our state of consciousness, producing an imaginary world.
I was listening to my music, sometimes it was really helpful. I even put my volume up and down. I didn't sing it, but just in my mind. With all the problem that I have in the jail, I have to hold myself. I have to hold my belief as a human being. And I tried my best to hold this broken vase together.
Sometimes I felt that, I wish I could allow myself to relax and go crazy. It's easier. It's more easy. Oh my God, I'm done, finished. I want to go, please. If I wish I could cheat myself, fool myself, and I say, yes, I believe in you, and take me out of here. I can do anything for the government. But I couldn't. It was easy in one way, but I couldn't.
Blindfolded and hanged from the hangers on the wall. This was the most torturous position that I had gone through, which actually broke my collarbone right here. I was a lucky person. Right in the middle of my tortures, I had a heart attack and a big stroke. Getting close to death, I saved my life.
It was late in the night, and I saw everybody in the room. 92 people were quiet. You can't even hear the sound, even a breath. And I asked, and suddenly I heard the sound. It was like a dump truck unloading something, like an iron, like a gravel, like a crack, something like this. And I asked, what is that? And the person beside me told me, shh, be quiet. And then I saw they are counting something. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I found that they are shooting. The first sound was gunshot. I started to cry. I was shaking because it was the first time I heard this sound. Every Wednesday and every Sunday, we had the same sound for 1 year. I do remember even I count up to 100, 100, 203. And this is very hard that you are counting the shoot of the people that they were beside you and they were like you. They're losing their life because of their belief.
I remember them very vividly. The last goodbyes, the anxiety, the walking back and forth between the time they called them and the time that they came and took them out. You're going, you're walking on your own feet to be put against the wall. So fear and trying to control it, everything is just radiating come from your face, your eyes. You're nervous, laughing or smiling. And you in my position, standing there, saying goodbye, saying it's okay, hugging, saying what? Trying not to cry, because if you cry, makes it difficult, harder.
I was worried about my son. Then I sent him to the United States for studying, and he wanted to be an engineer. But after 2 years, he came back to Iran. He was a journalist. He printed the newspaper for political people. He believed in equality between the people, between men and women. He and his friends wanted to free the political prisoners, and the government soldier arrested him. After 2 months, I found him in the prison, and he was 6 months in prison. When I heard the news by radio program, I was shocked. And I didn't believe it. My son's name between the people that executed, oh, I was shocked. I was shouted very loud, very loud. I remember I ran away in the street and phoned my brother. And maybe for a while I lost my mind, I think so. At 21, he was father. At 22, he died. He was very handsome, very tall, very green eyes. Yeah.
The government makes no effort to hide the way they are treated. Execution, hanging in public is a way of, in fact, showing people what will happen to those who say no, or what will happen to those who would not cooperate. In a sense, the discipline is hacked on the body of the people. What matters is that the survival of the revolution and the survival of the Islamic regime stands way beyond any other respect for individual life or for individual well-being or even for the communal well-being. During 1981, the government in power succeeded in eliminating very successfully by mass genocide much of the political organizations in the society.
They took me with other people in a corridor and some place that we didn't go there before. And the space was very, very scary. Everything was quiet, and when I opened my eyes, I saw that I'm sitting in a yard, very simple yard. And they said, Said, come. He was very strong and very lovely. And then they put him on the wall and shoot him. Easy. He was my husband's friend. He wear a blue shirt, very nice color. And then just one moment, his shirt was blue and red, and I saw him. and he fell on the floor. I couldn't think, how can I tell her, my friend, that your husband was killed. But I had to tell her because there was nobody else to tell her this bad news like me. And I told her. We hugged together. We cried together. And also we promised together that be strong. I get promise from her that be strong because of Saeed wants that, because you love him, and so be strong. It's not finished. We have to continue yet. And she promised me with her broken heart. That night, 6 young, intelligent, specialists and high education people was killed in front of me, and
I was in the coffins for 9 months. From the beginning they started it till they closed it down. 90% of people went there. They broke. I mean, psychologically broke, politically broke. And it was going for too long. So my friends that we all went to that coffin, and I saw them again. We were all different, very different, broken. What was happening to us was that a source of power was trying to destroy a group of people, to destroy them by taking their identity away, by taking their sense of autonomy and fill it with something else. Put them in the position of absolute powerlessness and absolute helplessness. That in that position, then you're ready to do anything, to follow any order.
From 1981 up to 1989, we had as well the war with Iraq. And so during this time, the government used the war with Iraq as a pretext to continue with the policy of total terror, which ended in 1989 with the mass genocide of all opposition prisoners or political prisoners in the prisons of the Islamic government. They successfully eliminated up to 60,000 people, and they managed to bury their bodies in mass graves. The generation that we lost, friends and brothers, sisters, family, they are irreplaceable. It's an irredeemable rupture within the structure of the society and within the flow of the history in a society. So it's a wound that can never heal. The world did not really show much compassion, was not very well reflected in the world.
What happened in 1990? They started to release temporarily people, prisoners like me. So they let us out, for example, for 1 week. And after the 1 week, our parents were supposed to take us back to the jail. I could convince my parents not to take me to the jail. If they want me, they can come and take me back.
Many prisoners who were released, shortly after they were brought back to prison and they were hanged. I decided to leave Iran secretly, not even telling my wife where I was going and what I was doing.
I got the fake passport, and the picture was the woman that she was older than me, 15 years older than me. So I was very thin at that moment. The first time in my life I put color on my hair, blonde, and then I have to change my eyebrow to make it shorter. Put a lot of dress on myself. I have to be more larger, you know, and to be fit with the picture, you know.
The border was on the top of like hill, and we were down a little bit. And the two smugglers, they told us that that's up there is the border. And from here to there, we don't have any coverage. So we have to run this distance. We ran till we passed the border, and after we ran a little bit more, then they said, okay, now we're safe. But then we had to worry about the Turkish guards and soldiers. I felt sad that I felt that it's gone. I can't go back there. And I'm leaving everything else behind those mountains.
The airplane started to move. I couldn't stop myself. I was crying hardly. It flew and I was looking at my city, the place I was born, the place that I was in the jail for 5 years. It was my place. I have to leave, and I told myself how long I have to be apart from here. And for 1 hour, 1 and a half, I couldn't stop myself. I was shaking and crying.
But when we get to Canada, the smuggler told us that as soon as you touch Canadian earth, they can't take you back. And we were running through these tunnels, and there's no earth. You can't touch anything. So there's no safety yet. And then we came to this customs, and they were running after us, and the officers. Hold them. They came, tried to send us back to the airplane. We were holding these poles, whatever we had that was in the room. If you send us back, they're gonna kill us. We can't go back. I was lucky. I had some papers documenting my stuff that showed I was a prisoner. I had my letters from jail, Evin prison, for example, showing that my claim is not a false claim.
This person finds himself in front of a challenge of trying to adapt to a new culture, which emphasizes enjoying the moment. Yet every smell, every color, every shade, in fact, reminds that person of who he is, what terrible story he has gone through, and what kind of pain this person has lived up to this moment.
I started also to get involved with the Canadian people rather than staying in my own community.
With us today, we have Shukafe Zahi, student and research assistant at York University.
I fear that Ontario's law permitting private universities will displace areas of study that nurture democratic society.
It's only this last couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, that I'm feeling that I'm getting into the society and to the people. But First 3-4 years, it was very difficult.
If we think that by simple dislocating of the people, by simple bringing them to a rather relaxed environment, we have finished with the story. Now the story is done, finished, now start living. Such a thing is a dream. Such a thing is too simplistic to work.
Now I have nightmares of being inside the jail with my kids. And I'm screaming that my baby has enough food, and how should I keep them? Then I'm going for interrogation. Who's gonna take care of them?
The pain of survival stays with us, stays with all those that they have gone through such kind of experience for a long time to come.
It took me a long time before I could recuperate from prison. I was under such a pressure psychologically that I could not even face my closest friends and associates.
Ex-political prisoners do not want to open themselves. Solitude is something that builds a wall around these people, a protective wall. Those who have gone through this experience, their eyes are opened up to the capability of all mankind to inflict such kind of evil. And this sensitivity, this intuitive sensitivity remains in them. Normally, they say that every suicide has a suicide note. But this man leaves us no note, nothing. What he does, he leaves us something very telling about his feelings with regard to this suicide. In that scene, he chose a tree next to a highway that could give complete visibility to people passing from that highway during the daytime. That highway was going to a university, a place that is very meaningful for student political activists. He uses a rope. This rope breaks, snaps. Now he gets his second chance in life. The idea that he tries to give us is that not only that he is so determined, but also he is not willing to try it again. He would like to tell us that there is something so inevitable in our human arrangement today that it makes us very difficult for someone who has been awakened intuitively to the sense of evil in human life to accept that a new chance is really a new chance. One thing that strikes us when we come to a country like Canada is that these sorts of problems are looked upon as problems of others.
I see that in this society I'm living, we're already, without anybody punishing us, we're living in that isolated glass jail, and I am I. And you are I, another I. And we're not sharing. But nobody cares. That was one of the first terms that I learned here, that who cares? I can go sit in my class beside the same person for the whole year, not saying hello to each other. Here I can sit in front of somebody and open my orange and eat it without offering, without even thinking that there is another person here might like it. This can create all of this social problems. And then we see that here there's the rate of the suicide among different group of people, Inuits, among young people, and ex-prisoners. When somebody like me, or those who are not among us anymore, they have such different history, such different experiences. You look for different ways of reaching out. If it doesn't go, maybe there is a moment of despair that you can't go anymore.
If human society at large shows itself capable of sharing that pain, maybe that would be a new beginning.
We all experience different type of pain, and we all try to somehow overcome this. It just shows that we are capable of the worst and the best, and we're not doomed. So my whole point is that somehow we're related to each other, and somehow our well-being is related to each other, and we all need each other. We're not that much different.
پاییز آمد در میان درختی، لانه کرده کبوتر از تراوش باران می گریزد. خورشید از غم با تمام غرورش پشت ابر سیاهی عاشقانه به گریه می نشیند. من با قلبی به سپیدی روز با امید بهاران می روم به گلستان، همچو عطر عقاقی لابلای درختان می نشینم. باشد روزی به ندای بهاران روی دامن صحرا لاله رویم. شعر هستی بر زبانم جاری، پرتوانم آری، میروم در کوه و دشت صحرا. شعر هستی بودن و کوشیدن، رفتن و پیوستن، از کشی بگسستن، جان فدا کردن در راه حق.